He rushed into the flames to save the princess, the queen said. Prepare the wedding, human. Alex Cole stood at the edge of the great hall and kept his hands still at his sides. The air was warm and heavy, filled with soft blue light from the living walls. Tall alien nobles moved in slow, graceful lines, their robes floating slightly above the floor. Their voices sounded like calm music, layered and deep. Alex understood some of the words through his translator, but the tone was clear even without it. They did not care that he was there. He was only a human. Alex wore a simple work uniform, dark and plain, with burn marks on the sleeves from long shifts near the energy systems. He was younger than most of the others in the room, with short brown hair and tired eyes. His face showed the quiet look of someone used to being overlooked. No one had invited him to stand here. He was only present because the Queen's engineers were required to observe the royal ceremony in case something went wrong. That alone told him how the aliens saw humans. The kingdom of Silvara was built around a massive energy core buried beneath the palace. The core was ancient, powerful, and dangerous. It provided clean energy, climate balance, and defense shields for the entire world. To the Solvarans, the core was sacred. To Alex, it was a machine with flaws, pressure limits, and warning signs that no one wanted to hear. He had tried to speak before. Weeks earlier, Alex had reported strange heat spikes and unstable flow patterns. The senior alien engineers listened politely and then dismissed him. One of them had even smiled and said that humans worried too much because they came from a harsh world. Solvarans evolved on a calm planet with stable land and gentle weather. They believed danger could always be predicted and controlled. Alex knew better. He came from Earth. The royal ceremony began with a low sound that rolled through the hall. Queen Mara entered, tall and calm, her crown glowing faintly with energy threads. Beside her walked Princess Lena. She was younger, curious-eyed, and less rigid than the others. Alex had seen her before from a distance. She sometimes watched the engineers work and asked simple questions without judgment. Their presence silenced the room. Alex lowered his gaze, as humans were taught to do here. The Queen spoke of unity, tradition, and the strength of Silvara. The crowd listened with full attention. Alex tried to listen too, but his eyes kept drifting to the data stream running across his wrist device. The numbers were wrong. The core temperature was rising faster than normal. Pressure nodes in the lower chamber were shifting out of balance. Small warnings blinked across the display, ignored by the palace systems because they were still within acceptable limits. Acceptable for Solvarans. Alex felt a familiar knot form in his chest. He took a step forward, then stopped. No one had given him permission to speak. Interrupting the Queen was unthinkable. His past attempts had taught him the cost of drawing attention. Laughter, quiet comments, and polite dismissal always followed. The ceremony continued. The light in the hall flickered once. Almost no one noticed. Alex noticed. His fingers tightened. The heat reading spiked again, sharper this time. The core was not stabilizing. It was building toward something violent. Another flicker passed through the hall. A low hum grew beneath the floor, so deep that it felt more than it sounded. Some of the nobles shifted uneasily. Alex broke protocol. He stepped forward and spoke, his voice louder than he meant it to be. "There is a problem with the core." The words echoed across the hall. Every eye turned toward him. The silence that followed was heavy and cold. An alien official frowned and raised a hand, clearly annoyed. The Queen looked down at Alex, her expression unreadable. "Explain," she said calmly. Alex swallowed and lifted his wrist device so the data could project into the air. "The thermal flow is unstable. Pressure is building in the lower chamber. If it reaches critical..." An explosion shook the palace. The floor lurched violently. Several nobles cried out as light panels shattered overhead. Heat surged through the hall, followed by a roar that drowned out all voices. The projection cut out. Alarms screamed. Fire burst through a distant corridor, racing along the walls like a living thing. The great hall filled with smoke and glowing embers. Guards moved in confusion, unsure where to go. The calm order of Silvara collapsed in seconds. Alex was thrown to the ground. He pushed himself up, coughing, his ears ringing. Through the smoke, he saw the queen being rushed away by guards. The princess was pulled in another direction as emergency shields tried and failed to contain the spreading flames. Alex's device reconnected. The data made his stomach drop. The lower chamber had breached. Fire from the core was climbing fast toward the central structure. If it reached the inner control ring, the palace would not survive, and the princess was still inside. Alex saw her stumble as part of the ceiling collapsed nearby. Guards hesitated, their shields flickering under the heat. The flames were too intense for their armor. Solvarans were not built for this kind of environment. Their bodies overheated quickly, their movement slowed. They retreated. Alex did not think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He ran toward the fire as others ran away. The heat slammed into him like a wall, stealing his breath. His boots scorched against the floor. Smoke burned his lungs. Someone shouted at him to stop. He ignored it. Alex ripped a maintenance shield from the wall and held it in front of him as he pushed forward. Alarms wailed. Metal screamed as supports twisted under stress. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, foolish, deadly, but danger was familiar. On Earth, people ran into burning buildings. They fought wildfires, storms, and floods. Humans learned early that fear did not make danger disappear. Alex reached the broken corridor leading toward the core chamber. The air shimmered with heat. Fire poured from cracks in the walls. His skin burned even through his uniform. Pain flared sharp and constant. He kept moving. Inside the corridor, the world narrowed to noise, heat, and effort. Alex crawled when he could no longer stand. Debris fell around him. Each breath felt like fire in his chest. His hands blistered as he pulled himself forward. Through the smoke, he saw her. Princess Lena lay near a fallen beam, trapped by twisted metal. Her breathing was fast and shallow. Her eyes widened when she saw him, shock cutting through fear. "You should not be here," she said weakly. Alex reached her and tried to lift the beam. It did not move. He repositioned, braced himself, and pushed again. Pain exploded through his arms and shoulders. Something tore inside him. He screamed and kept pushing. The beam shifted enough for him to drag her free. He wrapped one arm around her and pulled her close, shielding her as best he could. "Hold on," he said simply. The flames surged again, hotter than before. Alex turned back toward the exit. The corridor behind him was collapsing. There was no clear path out. The core roared like an angry star. Part of the ceiling gave way. The palace was dying. And Alex Cole, a human no one trusted, stood in the fire with the princess in his arms. Alex's arms ached as he carried Princess Lena through the burning corridors. The heat pressed against his face like a heavy weight, but he kept moving. Smoke stung his eyes and embers clung to his hair and clothes. The fire was alive, spreading fast, feeding on the walls and floors of the palace. Every step forward was a battle, but he knew he could not stop. He could not let the princess die. The corridors twisted and bent like a maze. The palace, once calm and organized, was now chaos. Pieces of ceiling fell like sharp rain. Metal groaned under the heat, and walls cracked as if they would split open at any moment. Alien guards were everywhere, but they only moved in confusion. Some ran past Alex, shouting orders he could not understand. Others froze, watching the flames with wide eyes. "Over here," Alex shouted to them, but no one responded. The humans on Earth learned long ago that sometimes help would not come. You had to rely on yourself. Alex felt the weight of the princess even more. Lena struggled to stay conscious, coughing and wheezing through the thick smoke. "I can't breathe," she whispered. "Hold on," Alex said. He adjusted his grip and shielded her with the flat metal plate he had grabbed earlier. "We're getting out, just a little more." The path ahead was blocked by a large fallen support beam. It was heavy and twisted, glowing red in the heat. Alex paused, assessing the situation. His mind raced, thinking of every trick he knew from working with machines and heavy materials. The beam would not move if he tried to lift it straight. He needed leverage. He saw a loose piece of wall panel nearby. Alex pried it free with his foot and wedged it under the beam. Using it as a lever, he pushed with all his strength. Pain shot through his shoulders and back, but the beam lifted just enough for him to crawl beneath it. He pulled Lena with him, shielding her face from sparks and flames. Once through, Alex paused to catch his breath. The air was thick, making it hard to think. He could hear the roar of the fire behind him, and the palace was starting to collapse. The walls themselves seemed to twist under the heat, and every floor panel vibrated beneath his feet. Yet Alex refused to stop. He moved quickly now, using his experience from Earth. He remembered the fire drills, the stories of people running through danger to save others. He focused on the sound of the princess's breathing. Steady, though faint. Alive. That was all that mattered. They reached a hallway that led toward the central chamber. Fire had blocked the doors, but Alex noticed a maintenance hatch on the side wall. It was small, designed for engineers to crawl through when performing repairs. Alex estimated it was barely large enough to get through with Lena. He lifted her carefully, guiding her into the opening. "I'll follow you," he told her. "Just keep moving." They crawled through the narrow passage, the walls hot to the touch. Sparks fell around them, and the air smelled of burning metal and smoke. Alex ignored the pain in his hands and arms. He focused on one step at a time. If he faltered now, the princess would be trapped and the palace would fall. After several tense minutes, they emerged into a wider corridor. Alex allowed himself a small relief. For a moment, it seemed calmer. The fire here was not as close, though smoke still swirled thickly. He helped Lena to her feet. She stumbled but regained balance, leaning slightly on him. "You're crazy," she said, coughing. "Why did you come in here?" Alex shrugged, though he could barely see her face through the smoke. "Because someone had to." Her eyes widened. "You could have died." "I'm not thinking about me," Alex replied. "We need to get to the exit." The exit was not easy. The palace had multiple layers and the fire had cut off many paths. Alex studied the layout stored in his device. His mind worked fast, calculating the safest path through the collapsing floors and walls. He pointed toward a staircase leading down. "This way," he said. As they moved, a section of the ceiling above them fell. Alex barely dodged the first pieces, but a heavy shard struck the floor near Lena. She stumbled again, and Alex caught her just in time. His arm burned where he had brushed against the metal shard. Pain flared, but he kept moving. They reached the staircase, but the lower steps were on fire. Smoke rose in thick clouds, making it nearly impossible to see. Alex looked down. The stairwell seemed endless, twisting into the depths of the palace. He could hear distant alarms, the shouts of guards, and the low roar of the fire growing closer. "We have to go," Alex said. He grabbed Lena's hand and led her down the steps. Each one creaked under their weight, and he moved carefully to avoid falling. The smoke made breathing difficult, but Alex pushed forward. He thought about the humans on Earth again, about how they survived disasters. Fire, storms, and floods. They did not run from danger. They faced it to protect others. Halfway down, a section of the stairwell gave way. Alex reacted quickly, catching Lena before she fell. His own hand scraped against the hot metal, but he did not let go. He pulled her back to safety and continued. "We can make it," he said between coughs. "Just a little further." The lower level was a maintenance area. Pipes and cables hung from the ceiling, many of them sparking. Water from broken fire suppression systems hissed against the fire. The heat was less intense here, but danger was still everywhere. Alex guided Lena along a narrow path, stepping over fallen debris and dodging sparks. "I can see the exit," he said finally. Smoke thinned, and a faint glow of sunlight from the palace exterior reached them. Hope flared in his chest, but he did not let it slow him down. One wrong step could still end everything. As they neared the exit, a sudden crash sounded behind them. Part of the upper floors collapsed, sending a wave of debris down the hall. Alex reacted instantly, pushing Lena ahead and shielding her with his body. The debris fell around them, narrowly missing. Alex felt sharp pain as a piece of metal grazed his shoulder, but he ignored it. "Almost there," he said, pulling her forward. Finally, they emerged into the palace courtyard. Smoke and flames surrounded them, but the open sky was above. Sunlight burned through the haze, giving Alex a moment to see the destruction. Much of the palace was in ruins, fire consuming sections of walls and roofs. Alien guards and citizens were scattered, some helping each other, some frozen in shock. Alex set Lena down gently. She stumbled but stood on her own. She looked at him, her eyes wide with amazement and gratitude. You saved me," she said softly. Alex nodded, his body trembling from pain and exhaustion. "We're not out of danger yet," he replied. Flames still burned near the palace gates and smoke made the air heavy and hard to breathe. "Come on, let's get somewhere safe." They moved toward a small pavilion in the courtyard. Other survivors were gathering there, helping the injured. Alex noticed some guards looking at him differently now. There was no laughter, no ridicule. They had seen what he had done. A human running into flames when no one else would. A human surviving where the palace elite feared to tread. Princess Lena leaned on Alex for support. Her dress was scorched, her hair messy, but her eyes shone with a mix of fear and relief. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. Alex smiled faintly. "Just stay alive," he replied. The queen arrived shortly after, escorted by her guards. Her robes were singed and her face showed worry and anger. She looked at Alex, then at the princess, and finally at the burning palace. "You risked your life for my daughter," she said, her voice steady. "For a human to do this, it is unexpected." Alex did not reply. He was exhausted, his body burned and bleeding, but he stood tall. Human endurance, human courage, human determination. These were not things alien rulers could always understand. He had acted without thinking of honor or reward, only of saving another life. Princess Lena looked up at her mother. "Alex didn't hesitate," she said. "He ran into the fire when no one else would. He saved my life." The queen's gaze softened and she nodded slowly. "Humans are different," she said quietly. "Perhaps we have underestimated them." Alex did not hear the words as praise. He only knew that the flames had been fought, that the princess was alive, and that for now they had survived the worst of the fire. But as he looked back at the palace, still burning behind them, Alex knew the danger was not over. The fire was only part of the threat. The palace, the kingdom, and the lives inside depended on what came next, and he would have to face it, no matter what. He took a deep breath, wiped the sweat and soot from his face, and prepared to follow the queen and princess into whatever came after. Humans survived because they acted when others hesitated. Alex Cole had done just that, and the Solvarans had begun to see it. The path forward would be hard, but he had proven that courage was not limited to alien bloodlines. And he was only getting started. Alex Cole sat on the edge of a pavilion bench, his clothes still singed, his arms sore, and his lungs tight from smoke. The air smelled of charred metal and scorched stone. All around him, the courtyard was alive with activity. Solvaran guards carried the injured, engineers tried to assess the damage, and the queen and princess moved among the survivors, their presence calming the panicked citizens. Princess Lena stayed close to Alex, brushing soot from his uniform. She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "I still don't understand," she said softly. "You didn't even hesitate. The flames, the heat, nothing made you stop." Alex shook his head. "On Earth, people face fire all the time. Storms, disasters, accidents. We learn to act, not wait. Hesitation can kill." Lena's eyes widened. So, humans are different, Alex gave a small smile. Different, yes, but we survive, that's all. The queen approached slowly, her robes flowing behind her, untouched by the chaos around her. Her gaze was steady, sharp, and full of curiosity. She studied Alex for a long moment, as if trying to understand something beyond words. "You are the first human to act with such courage in front of my people," Queen Mara said finally. "We have always thought your kind fragile, incapable of surviving under stress. Yet you carried my daughter through fire that would have killed any of us instantly." Alex rubbed his arm where a piece of debris had grazed him. The burn was deep, but he ignored it. "I did what needed to be done," he said simply. The queen tilted her head. "You risked your life for someone you barely knew, and you did not ask for reward, recognition, or thanks. That is remarkable." Alex looked down. He was not used to praise, especially not from an alien queen. "I didn't think about that," he admitted, "just about keeping her alive." Princess Lena spoke up, her voice firm. "My mother underestimates humans. She thinks we are weak, fragile. She hasn't seen what we are capable of." Alex showed her, all of them. A murmur ran through the gathering crowd. Solvaran nobles and engineers looked at Alex differently now. They whispered among themselves, realizing that the human before them had done something no alien could have done. One of the lead engineers, a tall alien named Chiron, approached hesitantly. "The human, he did something impossible," Chiron said. "We could not have survived that fire. We would have died." Alex shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. Your systems failed to protect everyone, but I knew the path, I knew the heat zones, and I just acted." Chiron's eyes narrowed, thinking. "Your kind, you call it instinct." Alex nodded. "Yes, instinct, training, survival, that's how we live. It's how we act when the world burns around us." The queen listened quietly, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke. "So humans are not as fragile as we believed. Perhaps we have judged your race too harshly. Perhaps we were wrong to think humans would fail under pressure." Alex did not respond. He had no need to argue. His actions spoke louder than any words. Princess Lena leaned closer, whispering to him. "You saved me, and now they will see. They will understand that humans are strong." Alex nodded, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. Recognition from aliens, especially Solvarans, was rare. They were proud and cautious, slow to trust. Yet he had forced them to see what humans could do. The palace engineers were beginning to assess the damage. Molten metal had fused some panels, but the core had not fully exploded. The protective shields had held longer than expected, giving Alex the chance to rescue Lena. Reports spread through the courtyard. A human had carried the princess out alive while the palace burned. Rumors reached the queen. She paused, thinking deeply. "If humans are truly like this," she murmured, "then perhaps we need to reconsider our view of their place in the galaxy. Perhaps there is potential in them we have never recognized." Alex overheard her words. He did not expect them to be praise, yet they felt like it. He had always been underestimated by humans and aliens alike. Now, for the first time, his courage had forced respect. Princess Lena watched the queen closely. "Mother," she said, "he is more than capable. He proved it. The humans deserve our trust, our help, perhaps even our friendship." Queen Mara looked at Alex again. Her eyes were sharp but thoughtful. "You risked your life in ways that no Solvaran would dare," she said, "and you survived. There is more to your kind than we realized." "More than I realized." Alex's hands ached. His arms and shoulders burned. His lungs were tight from smoke. Yet he felt a calm inside, a quiet satisfaction. Survival was not about reward. It was about action, about doing what had to be done when others faltered. A group of guards approached, their shields slightly melted, their faces pale. One of them spoke. "Princess Human, he saved you. The palace would have fallen otherwise." Alex nodded. "We survived because I acted when others hesitated. That's all." Chiron, the lead engineer, studied him with curiosity. "I must understand," he said. How can humans act with such determination? We calculated the probabilities. There was no chance of survival in those conditions. Yet you succeeded. Alex looked at him simply. Probabilities don't save lives. Action does. Courage does. Humans survive because we act, even when the world says we can't. The Queen nodded slowly. Perhaps it is time to study humans more closely. Perhaps it is time to reconsider their role in the galaxy. Alex glanced at Princess Lena. She smiled faintly, proud but worried. They will never forget this, she whispered. Your actions today will change everything. Alex shook his head slightly. I don't want change, he said. I only want to survive and help others survive. But the Queen had already made her decision. She approached him fully, her presence commanding attention. Human, she said, you have shown courage, strength, and wisdom beyond what we expected. You have saved my daughter and preserved my palace. For this you have earned my respect. Alex felt the weight of her words. He had never been respected like this before, not on Earth, not among humans, not among aliens. It was strange, powerful, and overwhelming. Princess Lena stepped forward, taking his hand lightly. You saved me, she said. And now the people will see that humans are strong, that we can survive anything. Thank you, Alex. Alex nodded, trying to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. The fires had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and yet he had survived. He had acted without fear, without thought of reward, and now his actions were changing the way an entire species thought about humans. The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves, calculating, debating. The idea of a human being capable of such bravery was difficult to accept. Some saw opportunity, others fear. The Queen, however, was firm in her judgment. A life debt has been formed, she said quietly to herself. One that cannot be ignored, one that must be honored. Alex felt a strange sensation. He did not understand it fully, but he realized that his actions today would ripple far beyond this courtyard. Humans, long underestimated by the galaxy, would now be seen differently. Courage, determination, and survival could not be ignored, even by Solvarans. He glanced at the ruins of the palace, at the glowing embers and twisted metal. The fire had consumed much, but it had also revealed a truth. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They acted when others hesitated. They survived when others would have died. Princess Lena squeezed his hand gently. We will rebuild, she said. And when we do, humans will stand beside us, no longer overlooked, no longer underestimated. Alex nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The Queen's gaze remained on him, quiet but firm. Respect had been earned, not given, and he had earned it. As the smoke cleared and the courtyard filled with the sounds of rebuilding, Alex felt something he had never felt before, a sense of belonging. Not because he was human, not because he had survived, but because his actions had changed minds, opened eyes, and proven that even one human could make a difference in a world that had once seen them as weak. And for the first time, Alex Cole allowed himself to believe that the galaxy might finally understand the true strength of humanity. He stood tall, looking at the palace and the people around him. The fire had tested them all. It had revealed fear, courage, and survival. And through it all, one human had acted when others faltered. One human had changed the course of alien history without intending to. Alex knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Respect was one thing, trust another. The Queen's advisors might still question him, the Solvaran Council might resist, and dangers still lingered in a galaxy full of uncertainty. But for now, Alex had proven something undeniable. Humans survived. Humans acted. Humans could rise even in the face of flames. And that truth would not be forgotten. The Queen finally approached Alex fully, her voice carrying authority and certainty. Human, you have done more than save my daughter. You have shown what your kind is truly capable of. Prepare yourself, for the path ahead may be as fiery as the one you just walked, but know this, you are no longer just a human in our eyes. You are a symbol. Alex met her gaze steadily. He did not need symbols, titles, or recognition. Action had spoken for him. But he understood the weight of her words. The galaxy would now see humans differently, and that realization, more than anything, gave him strength. He glanced at Princess Lena, at the burning palace behind them, and at the crowd of aliens who now looked at him with a mixture of fear, awe, and respect. Humans had survived the impossible, and now the galaxy would have to reckon with that truth. Alex Cole took a deep breath. The fire had tested him, the palace had tried to kill him, and yet he was alive, stronger for it, ready for whatever came next. The queen had spoken, the princess had survived, and the people had witnessed the impossible. Alex knew that humanity had only just begun to rise. And nothing in the galaxy would ever see them the same way again. Alex Cole sat quietly in the royal council chamber, still sore from the burns and bruises of the fire. The room smelled of smoke and fresh paint as repairs began after the palace disaster. Solver advisors were gathered, whispering among themselves, their faces full of concern and curiosity. The queen sat at the head of the room, regal as ever, and Princess Lena was beside her, her gaze fixed on Alex. "Human," Queen Mara said, her voice calm but firm, "you have done more than save my daughter. You have proven something about your race that cannot be ignored." Alex shifted uncomfortably. He was not used to praise from anyone, especially not from aliens. "I only did what had to be done," he said quietly. "I didn't think about reward." Princess Lena smiled faintly. "And yet, your actions demand recognition, not because you wanted it, but because the kingdom must see what humans are capable of." Some of the council members exchanged worried glances. One of them, a tall sovereign named Chiron, spoke cautiously. "Your Majesty, if humans are as resilient as you say, if this human acted where none of us could, it changes everything." "We must consider the implications carefully," Queen Mara nodded. "Yes, Chiron, I understand your concern. Humans have long been underestimated. It is time to reconsider their place in our world and in the galaxy. We cannot ignore this." Alex listened quietly, his mind racing. He had never wanted power, influence, or attention. On Earth, he had lived a simple life as an engineer. Here, among these alien rulers, he had only wanted to save a life. Yet now, his actions were shaping politics, perceptions, and the future. Princess Lena leaned closer. "My mother wishes to make a decree," she said softly, looking at Alex. "She believes that a life debt has been formed, one that cannot be ignored, one that must be honored." Alex felt a knot tighten in his chest. He had expected gratitude, perhaps respect. He had not expected this. "A life debt?" he asked cautiously. Queen Mara's gaze met his. "Yes, human. You risked everything to save my daughter. Tradition demands that such a debt be recognized. It is not simply a formality. It is a bond, one that requires action, loyalty, and trust." The council murmured among themselves. Some nodded, others looked uneasy. Humans had always been seen as fragile, incapable of understanding or following sovereign tradition. Now one human had acted in a way no alien could, and the rules had changed. Princess Lena spoke again. "I support this. Alex saved my life and he acted without hesitation. If the kingdom is to survive future dangers, we must recognize his courage. We must honor his actions fully." Alex swallowed. "I don't need rewards or titles," he said. "I only want to survive and help others survive." Queen Mara's expression softened slightly. "This is not about reward, human. It is about responsibility, duty, and the bonds that shape our society. You have earned more than recognition. You have earned trust, and trust is far more valuable than wealth or power." The council fell silent. They understood the Queen's words, though some struggled with the idea. One member, a younger sovereign named Velek, finally spoke. "Human, if you are capable of what we have witnessed, then perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humans. Perhaps we have ignored potential that could aid us in future conflicts." Alex shook his head slightly. "I'm not here to prove humans are superior," he said. "I'm here because someone needed help, that's all." Princess Lena placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "It is more than that, Alex. Your actions have changed the way humans are seen. We cannot ignore what you did. The kingdom must adapt, and you are at the center of that change." Queen Mara leaned forward, her eyes sharp and commanding. "Human, the council has debated the matter, and I have made my decision. You will not be treated as a simple outsider. You will be given responsibilities, access to resources, and a place in our society that reflects the bond you have created with my family." Alex blinked. He had expected caution, perhaps suspicion. He had not expected such honor, yet he felt a strange sense of calm. He had acted without thought of reward, and now the consequences were larger than he could have imagined. Princess Lena's eyes sparkled. "We will rebuild the palace, and humans will be part of that process. You will help guide us, not as a servant but as a trusted ally. Your knowledge, courage, and instincts are invaluable." Alex nodded slowly. "If it helps people survive, I will do it." The Queen's gaze softened. "Good. Then it is settled. The life debt is recognized and your place here is secured. We will announce your actions to the kingdom. Your courage will be known. Humans will no longer be seen as fragile outsiders." A murmur of amazement ran through the council. Some of the older members were hesitant, unsure if tradition allowed for such recognition. Yet the Queen's authority was absolute, and her decree left no room for argument. Princess Lena smiled at Alex. "You saved more than my life," she said. "You saved the kingdom from misunderstanding its own strength, and now we move forward together." Alex felt the weight of her words. He had not sought recognition, influence, or alliance. Yet his actions had changed perceptions, traditions, and politics. He had risked his life for a single person, and in doing so, he had altered the course of an entire society. Queen Mara rose, her voice ringing with authority. "Let it be known throughout the kingdom. The human Alex Cole has acted with courage beyond measure. He has saved the princess, preserved the palace, and proven the strength of his kind. Prepare for recognition and ensure that he is honored according to our laws and traditions." The council members bowed, and a wave of respect swept through the room. Even those who had doubted him now understood that Alex Cole was no ordinary human. He was a symbol of courage, survival, and determination. Princess Lena turned to him once more. "Alex, the world is changing because of you, and we will face future dangers together as allies. Your actions have shown us what humans can do when they act without fear." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. The fire had tested him, the palace had tried to destroy him, yet he had survived. Now he stood not as a simple human engineer, but as someone whose actions had reshaped the views of an entire alien society. Queen Mara's eyes met his once more. "Prepare yourself, human. Your journey is only beginning. There will be challenges ahead, but you have proven that you are capable of facing them. The bond you have created with my daughter and with this kingdom cannot be broken." Alex looked around at the council, the guards, and the surviving citizens. He saw a mix of awe, fear, and respect. Humans had always been underestimated, but now he knew that one person could make a difference. One human could survive the impossible, change minds, and earn trust even among aliens who had never believed in him. Princess Lena squeezed his hand lightly. "You saved me, Alex," she said, "and now the kingdom will stand with you, humans and Solvarans together." Alex nodded, his chest tight with emotion. He had acted out of instinct, courage, and the need to protect life. He had not sought glory, yet it had found him. The life debt was recognized, the Queen's decree was clear, and the kingdom's view of humans had changed forever. As he looked at the burning remains of the palace outside the windows, Alex realized that the fire had not only tested the palace and its people, but it had also tested him. And he had passed. The world would never see humans the same way again. And Alex Cole, the human who rushed into flames without hesitation, would be at the center of that change. The Queen spoke one final time, her voice calm but commanding. "Human, prepare yourself. The galaxy is watching. Your actions today have set a standard, and now it is time to rise to meet what comes next. The life debt binds us, and your courage has opened a path that no one could have predicted." Alex felt a sense of resolve. He had survived the fire, saved the princess, and earned the trust of a queen and a kingdom. Now he would face the next challenges with the same determination. Princess Lena smiled at him. "Together, we will face whatever comes. The kingdom, the palace, and the galaxy will know the strength of humans." Alex nodded silently. The path ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and dangers, but he had proven that humans could survive and act where others faltered. He had risked everything for one life, and in doing so, he had changed the destiny of a kingdom. He stood tall, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The Queen's decree, the recognition of his actions, and the life debt formed a bond he could not ignore. But he welcomed it. Alex Cole, a human who had once been overlooked, now had a role to play in the galaxy. A role defined not by his species, but by his courage, his actions, and his determination to survive and protect life, no matter the cost. The council watched him, the Queen watched him, and Princess Lena stood beside him. Alex Cole was no longer just a human among aliens. He was a symbol, a protector, and a force that had changed everything. And the galaxy would soon learn that humans could not be ignored. Alex Cole stood in the palace courtyard, the sun casting a soft glow over the ruins of the fire-damaged palace. Smoke still drifted in thin streams from the collapsed walls, but the people were moving again, rebuilding, clearing debris, and tending to the injured. Alex had worked through the night, helping engineers reinforce weakened structures, guiding rescue teams, and ensuring the wounded were taken care of. He was exhausted, but he refused to sit down. The kingdom depended on him now. Princess Lena approached, her dress still scorched and her hair tangled, but her eyes shone with determination. "Alex," she said softly, "the people are starting to see what you are capable of. Even the council cannot deny it anymore." Alex nodded, wiping soot from his forehead. "I just did what had to be done," he said quietly. "I didn't think about recognition." Lena smiled faintly. "Sometimes courage cannot be ignored. What you did has changed everything. Humans are no longer outsiders here. They will be trusted, respected, and remembered." The Queen emerged from the palace's temporary council chamber, her robes flowing despite the destruction. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a glimmer of pride. She stopped beside Alex, observing the scene. "Human," she said, "your actions have done more than save my daughter. You have changed the way this kingdom sees your people. Humans will now be part of our society, not as servants, but as allies, as equals in courage and action." Alex felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He had never sought honor or power, yet he now understood the weight of his actions. What he had done would shape human-alien relations for years, perhaps centuries. The life debt recognized by the Queen was no longer a simple bond. It was a symbol of humanity's potential. Princess Lena took his hand gently. "We will rebuild the palace together," she said. "And when it is done, humans will stand with us, not behind us." Alex looked at the courtyard, at the workers, guards, and engineers moving amid the ruins. He saw the fear still lingering in some eyes, but also awe, respect, and determination. They had witnessed the impossible, a human running into fire when all others froze, carrying a princess to safety. He thought about Earth, about the way humans survived disasters, storms, and fires without hesitation. Courage was not born of pride, it was born of necessity. Survival required action, and Alex had acted. As the rebuilding continued, the Queen called a gathering. Nobles, council members, and citizens assembled in the courtyard. Whispers ran through the crowd. No one had forgotten the fire nor Alex's actions. Queen Mara spoke, her voice ringing across the open space. People of Silvara, the kingdom has faced a great disaster. The palace has been damaged, lives were at risk, and yet one among us acted with courage that none could match. Alex Cole, a human, risked his life to save the princess and protect the future of this kingdom. His actions have proven that humans are not weak, nor fragile. They are capable of strength, courage, and sacrifice. The crowd fell silent. Some stared in disbelief, others in awe. Alex remained quiet, letting the words sink in. He did not need applause, the recognition itself was enough. Princess Lena stepped forward. I was saved because Alex acted when no one else would. Humans can survive and protect, even in the face of impossible danger. Let his actions remind us that courage comes in many forms, and that the strength of a person cannot always be judged by their size, their species, or their origin. A murmur of approval spread through the crowd. Whispers of amazement, respect, and even fear circulated. Aliens had long underestimated humans, and now one had proven their potential in a way that could not be ignored. The Queen continued, "The life debt formed between Alex and this royal family is more than tradition. It is a bond that signifies trust, honor, and alliance. Alex Cole will be given responsibilities, access, and resources befitting his courage. Humans will now be seen as allies, not outsiders." Alex felt a heavy weight on his shoulders, but it was not unwelcome. Responsibility was unfamiliar but necessary. He had survived the fire, saved the princess, and now the kingdom depended on him in new ways. He would not fail. Over the following days, rebuilding efforts intensified. Alex worked alongside Solvaran engineers and human volunteers. He shared knowledge from Earth about fire suppression, structural reinforcement, and survival strategies. The aliens watched, learning quickly. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and quick to act. Alex's methods were unfamiliar, but they were effective. Princess Lena often stayed close, observing and assisting. She spoke of plans for improved safety, stronger shields, and better training for guards. Alex guided her patiently, teaching through example. The bond between them grew stronger, not through words but through shared struggle and survival. One evening, as the sun set and painted the courtyard in golden light, the Queen approached Alex and Princess Lena. "The palace will rise again," she said, "stronger than before. And humans will have a place here that reflects their true worth. Courage, loyalty, and action are what matter. You, Alex, have proven this." Alex nodded, exhausted but determined. "I only acted to save a life. The rest will follow if people choose to act when it matters." Princess Lena smiled. "Then we will act together, humans and Solvarans. The kingdom will stand united." As weeks passed, the palace began to take shape again. Workers repaired walls, reforged gates, and restored the great hall. The court slowly returned to normal, but the memory of the fire remained vivid. It was a reminder of danger, of courage, and of a human who had faced the impossible. News of Alex's actions spread throughout the kingdom and beyond. Other alien worlds began to hear of the human who ran into flames, saved a princess, and survived when all others had faltered. Humans were no longer underestimated. Respect and curiosity replaced doubt and ridicule. One evening, as Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the courtyard, Princess Lena joined him. "They will remember you," she said. "Your actions, your courage. Humans will be respected, feared, and trusted because of you." Alex shook his head. "I didn't do it for fame. I did it to survive and to save her. The rest is a consequence of action." Lena nodded. "Sometimes consequences matter more than intention. Your courage has changed the way our world sees humans. The galaxy will not forget it." The Queen approached behind them, her presence commanding. "Alex Cole, the kingdom owes you its thanks, its trust, and its recognition. Prepare for the responsibilities ahead. Humans will now stand as equals in courage, strategy, and survival. Your place here is assured. Alex felt a strange calm. The fire had tested him, the palace had threatened him, and yet he had endured. Now he stood not as a simple engineer, not as an outsider, but as a trusted ally, a symbol of human courage and a bridge between species. Princess Lena squeezed his hand. Together we will face anything. The kingdom, the people, and the galaxy will see the strength of humans firsthand. Alex nodded silently. He understood the gravity of his actions. The fire had been only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, political tension, threats from beyond, and tests of courage. But he had survived the fire. He had acted when others hesitated. He had proven humans were capable. The Queen spoke one final time, her voice carrying authority and certainty. Let this be remembered: courage knows no species. Action defines strength. And one human, Alex Cole, has reminded us all of that truth. The galaxy will take note. Alex took a deep breath. He had survived, saved a life, and gained the trust of an entire kingdom. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but he welcomed it. Humans would no longer be overlooked, underestimated, or ignored. Princess Lena smiled at him, her eyes shining with hope and determination. "Your journey is only beginning," she said. "And the galaxy will know that humans can rise above any challenge." Alex looked out at the horizon, at the rebuilding palace, at the citizens moving with purpose, and at the alien skies stretching wide above. He felt the truth of it. Humans survived because they acted, because they endured, and because courage was stronger than fear. And Alex Cole, the human who ran into flames to save a princess, had changed the world forever. He was no longer just a human among aliens. He was a symbol, a force, and a proof that humanity could rise, survive, and triumph, no matter the odds. And the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.